Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Zevachim Kuf Gimel. We begin right on top of the Mishnah. What happens to the skin, the oyer, the hide on the karbanis animals? Who does it go to? The answer is the pasuk gives it to the kohen. The pasuk says, "V'hakohen hamakriv es oilas ish." Right, the kohen is involved in the hakrava of a man's oila, a karban oila, oyer, the skin, ayin vavresh, right, the hide, havdi oila, oila asher hikriv, la kohen lo ye, will be given to the kohen. However, says the Mishnah, there's one condition: the karban has to be a successful karban, a karban which is kosher. But otherwise, if the karban is slated for burning because it became pasuk, then the skin goes along and gets burned as well. It will not be delivered to the kohen. Says the Mishnah, Kol shaloi zocha ha-mizbeach b'b'sara. If the mizbeach did not earn the basar, meaning the flesh of this, let's say, karban oila, will not go to the mizbeach. Rashi says, for instance, a pesul occurred before they did the zrika. There was no moment in time when the karban was slated for the mizbeach. It got aborted midway. Kol shaloi zocha ha-mizbeach b'b'sara. Likewise, the skin will not go to the kohen. Shnamar, as the pasuk says, only in oilas ish, a man's oila, which means to say he was credited for the karban. It was a successful karban. Then we say skin to kohanim. Oila she'also ish, but otherwise not. Suppose it was an oila shenishachta shaloi lishma. The shechita was done without proper intention. He had a different karban in mind. As we learned way back in Daf Beis Amud Aleph, the karban is technically kosher, however the owner has to bring another one. So how would you deem the status of the skin here? Is it considered skin of a karban which is successful, karban which is kosher? Yes, the answer is yes. Although the owner doesn't get credit for the karban, he has to bring another one. But technically speaking, the karban is kosher, and therefore the skin of this animal goes l'kayanim. The Mishnah concludes, although the pasuk makes reference to an oilas ish, oila offered by a man, what about oila of a woman? Echad oilas ish, echad oilas isha, whether it's a man or a woman, oira yisein l'kehanim, the skins go to the kehanim. What about oiros of kachim kalam? Let's say you bring a shlamim, which is typically consumed by the owner, not by the kohen. Who gets the skin? L'balam, the owner gets it. Oiros kachim, however, where the flesh is meant for the kehanim, like a chatas asham, likewise, the skin goes la kayhan. Although the pasuk only speaks about an oila, we extend it to the other karbanos as well through a kal v'chomer. Uma im oila shelezacha b'vsara. Even an oila where the flesh is not granted to the kayhanim, rather only to the mizbeach. Still, despite not having access to the basar zacha b'oira, they earn the skin. Kodesh kadashim. Certainly by a chatas, asham, etc. Shezachu with son where the kehanim get the flesh itself. Of course, the skin comes along, and it didn't. Certainly, she is kubayr, and they're entitled to the skin. Now, although you can sort of refute this analogy by looking at the mizbeach, which only gets basar by the oila, never skin, so perhaps only the basar of the chatas goes to the kayanim, not the skin. No, ein mizbech yichiach. You can't undo this analogy by looking at the mizbech and using that as a counter factor, because mizbech never gets hide, so it's not really part of our equation and doesn't really indicate anything regarding the zchus of kayanim, who always get the hide. Shein la'oir b'cham mokem, meaning since we know that they get the oir ha'oila, so by extension we expand it to other karbanos as well. Tana Rabbanan, says the Gemara, the pasuk refers to oilas ish, coming to exclude something. Prat oilas hektish. This directing of the hide to the kehanim does not apply by oilas hektish, which we'll explain in a minute. We're going to have three explanations. So, oilas hektish is excluded from this halach. Which halach? The halach that the skin goes to the kohen doesn't apply. David Rabbi Yehuda. That's a shit. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda Omer, Prat oilas gerim, oilas ish, tells us only an oila which is owned by a ish, but not by a ger. And soon the Gemara will explain what this means. First, let's go back. What do you mean when you said prat oilas hegdish? We exclude oilas hegdish. Omar Rab Chia bar Ab Yosef. Prat, as opposed to la'oila habomena moistris. You have leftovers. Rashi says. Suppose a fellow was bringing an asham, and in full conscientiousness he brought a backup asham just in case something goes wrong. It turns out he didn't need it. It's unneeded, it's leftovers. Halacha is you send it out for pasture, let it get a blemish, sell it, and take those funds and finance an oila. An oilas, basically it's an oila that's put on the mizbeach to keep it active, to fill in for inactive moments. And that's not really your private carbon. Rashi calls it an oilas in a davas tzibur. It's like a public donation. It's like a communal carbon. In this case, the owner is not really involved. In this case, the halacha of the skin to the kehanim doesn't apply. Rather, the skin goes to the Beis Hamikdash, into the building fund. So that case is excluded. Prat lo'ila haba min ha'moisris. Ask the Gemara. Well, that's good if you say hanicha l'madam. That worked if you say moisris and davas tzibur asli. The leftovers I directed into the communal coffer. Ela l'madam amar moisris and davas yachad asli. But according to the opinion that moisris is considered a private donation, so it's no different than any other oila, Michael and Memar. So why would this be different? Answer: K'da Amar Rava. Just as Rava tells us regarding something else. The word ha'oila, the extra hey, indicates the special one, the unique one. Oila Rishon, the first oila. Hachinam here as well. When it says oil ha'oila, it's specific to a specific oila. Ha'oila means oila Rishona, the standard, conventional oila. Rashi says Rishona here means it's an original oila, as opposed to a sort of a copy, purchased from monies, leftovers, from substitute. No. In that case, the halacha of the oir to the kehanim does not apply. That's one shot. Oil that comes from Meisoros will not have this halacha. Rabbi Ivoi Rav Yanai has another pshat in prat lo'ilas hektish. He said it means like this. Prat, as opposed to lamatvis oil bedekabayis. A fellow had already designated an oil for the mizbeach, and then he sort of shifts, decides to donate it to the bedekabayis, to the Beis Hamikdash building fund. So in this case, although it's going to proceed as an oil on the mizbeach, but the hide will not go to the kohanim. Rather, it will be directed into the communal coffers of the Beis Hamikdash. And explains the Gemara. And certainly, it goes without saying, according to the opinion that holds that KosherT ube is tafsim d'oraisa, that menat Torah. This carbon oil, which was meant for the mizbeach, has now also acquired another layer of kedusha. When he donated it to the bedekabayis, it gets another layer of kedusha, to the extent that you can't offer it on the mizbeach until you first redeem it and take that money and send it to bedekabayis, and then you can proceed with the oil of the mizbeach. So, okay, we understand that if he did the shechita before it was redeemed, the skin cannot go to the kohanim, rather goes to the bedekabayis, because it's not really his. It belongs to the hegdish now. But even according to the opinion that holds that really you haven't really said anything, you can't add another layer of. You can't redirect this oila to bedekabayis. It's already committed to the mizbeach. At most, it's only midrabanan. We don't want to disregard what he says, and you have to redeem it, so to speak, and send some money to the bedekabayis. Hanimi libas. That pertains to the actual flesh. Aval oir tafis. So the flesh itself is committed to the mizbeach. I mean, HaTorah, you can't really redirect it. But the skin, which initially was never meant for the mizbeach per se, it was meant for the kohanim. So since he now donated the entire animal to the bedekabayis, at least on the skin, it gets implemented to the extent that skin goes to bedekabayis. And that's what we meant. Skin is to kohanim, except if it's oilas hegdish, an oila which was now redirected to bedekabayis. V'chein Amar Rav Nachman. Likewise says Rav Nachman Amar in the name of Rabba. But Ravua Prat Oila Ba Min HaMoisros, this pertains back to the original pshat, that the leftovers, right, will not have the halacha of the skin to the kohanim. Amalei Rav Amnuna, he asked Rav Nachman, Kiman Rav Yehuda. So are you in line with Rav Yehuda that the oir of the moisaris will not go to the kohanim? Hahadabe, we know that he changed his mind. The Sanya, as we find in the following verse. There were many like pushkas, coffers, in the Beis HaMikdash, 6 of which served Nadava. La'oila haba min hamoisros. As we explained, we have an extra oila, you sell it, that money goes into the pushka, and is used as a sort of a donation, a donated oila to the Mizbeach. Sheloi yehu kahanim zakoin ba'ira. In contrast to a standard oila where the kohanim get the hide, not in this case. Leave it Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. So initially, Rabbi Yehuda subscribed to this opinion that oila min hamoisros doesn't have this halacha. Amar le Rabbi Nechemia, he was challenged by Rabbi Nechemia. But some say it was Rabbi Shimon who challenged him. In Cain, according to you, v'talta midrasha shel Yoyada Kohen, you have now negated the analysis of Yoyada Kohen, who based on his understanding of the pasuk, we see that the skin of even these oilos will go to the kohanim, the sanya, zeh midrash darash Yoyada Kohen. The following was related by Yoyada Kohen. Let's take a look at the pasuk. Asham, Asham, Asham Lashem, which sounds like the Asham goes to the to Hashem on the Mizbeach. But as Rashi points out, you can't say that. It's completely for the Mizbeach because we know from the other pasuk that the kohanim eat an Asham. So what happens to an Asham? To the kohen or to the Mizbeach? So he explained. This pasuk is referring to leftovers. Leftover ashams. Like we explained before, you have an extra carbon as a backup, and now it's unneeded. Kol sheba mishum chatas, mishum asham. Anything that's derived, that's produced from chatas for asham, and now unneeded. You take it, switch it for money, and purchase. You lokach by oilos. You buy a carbon oil with it. Habasar la Hashem, v'oil kehanim, whose flesh goes on the mizbeach to Hashem and the skin to the kehanim. So you've accommodated both Hashem and the kehanim, so to speak, right? Clearly, the skin of even these leftovers go to kohanim. In contrast to what you were saying before, Rav Nachman. So although you were sourcing it in Rav Yehuda, but he changed his mind, and he conceded. Omar Leis, Rav Nachman responds, okay, so now we're stuck. Mar b'may mukim los. How do you explain that brisa, which told us that oilas hegdish is not covered by this halacha of the hide to the kohen? How do you explain it? So here comes yet a third pshat. We had the pshat of the moisros, we had the pshat of the matfis oila, the bedek habayis. Here comes a third. Omar lei mukminula b'maglish nechasav. My understanding is that it's going on a case where a fellow donated his entire estate, with some animals, with everything. Now, the dilemma is like this. We're talking that he donated it to the kabayis, right? His tractors, his cars, his animals. And the animals are suitable for mizbeach. Tractors aren't. So what do we do? Like Rabbi Shua says, this not hamagdish nechasav. He donated it all. Rashi says lebedek habayis. Voy ben behemoth ruyos l'gav mizbeach. But in this mix, you have some animals which are suitable for the mizbeach. So what do we do? Zachar and nekevas. We have zacharim that can be oilos. We have nekevas that can be shlamims. Rabbi Elazar Omer, he says like this. The actual animal, you want to make sure it ends up on the mizbeach. Okay, because once it's kaddish, you want it to go to the mizbeach. Zacharim, you have to sell it. Yimachru l'tzarich oilos, to those who need a carbon oila, give it to them in exchange for payment. Likewise, at nekevas, which are suitable for shlamims, likewise, yimachru l'tzarich zivchei shlamim, sell it to those who need shlamims in exchange for payment. Udmein, and their money is yiplu mishar nechasim bedek habayis, together with all the other monies, the money you got for the tractor and the cars, everything over to the bedek habayis. Because according to Rebbe Lezer, we don't split his donation. We assume since the tractor was meant for Bedek HaBayis, right? Likewise the animals. But you don't want to just send them out to the market, right? Once they got Kedusha, you want to... Halacha is you have to try to get it to the Mizbeach. That's what you do. In a roundabout way, you sell it, and the money goes together with everything else to Bedek HaBayis. Rabbi Shoimer says no. If the Zachar is a unblemished animal, suitable for an Oila, that's what you do with it. That's what he meant. He meant that those that can be used as an actual carbon, go for it. And the rest that can't is sent to the Bedek HaBayis. Rishoyim is Char Ma'atzmam Yikru V'Oilos. Take these Charim themselves as Oilos. Unakevos, what about the Nakevos? Yimachru L'tzorches Shlamim. You see, here it's different because you want to completely on the Mizbeach, and the Shlamim is not completely on the Mizbeach. Right? Only the blood, right? So in this case, you have to sort of get it to Mizbeach in a roundabout way. You sell it to those who need a Shlamim. You take the payment and buy with it an Oila. V'yavi b'dvein Oilos. And then you have a full gift to the Mizbeach, completely incinerated on the Mizbeach, in fulfillment of this fellow's wishes. And regarding the tractor and everything else, Rishon Nechasam Yiplu Bedek HaBayis goes to Bedek HaBayis. Now, the Gemara concludes, so the question is, what about the skin, the hide of the carbon oila? The point will be that in this case, it doesn't go to the Kohanim, as it typically does. It goes to Bedek HaBayis. Why? Even according to Bisho, who seems to say that we don't mind splitting up this fellow's donation. Some to the Mizbeach, some to Bedek HaBayis. That applies to the basar itself, which you can put on the Mizbeach. That's what he had in mind. Aval oir, tafis. But when it comes to the skin around that flesh, certainly he doesn't want that to go to the Kehanim. He would like it to go to the Bedek HaBayis. Right? So although the animal is now an oila on the Mizbeach, but it's not your typical oila, it's as per our understanding of his intention. And he certainly wants to maximize his donation. He doesn't want to give the skin away to the Kehanim. He wants that to go to the Bedek HaBayis. And that's what the Brisa meant. Prat oilas hekdesh. In this case, the skin goes to the Bedek HaBayis, not to the Kehanim. Okay, so we have a total of 3 pshatim. The pasuk says, typically, skin of an oila or other kachim kalim go to the Kehanim. Oilas ish tells us prat oilas hekdesh, but not by hekdesh. We have 3 pshatim. Either moisrois, or when you would matvis an oila to Bedek HaBayis, or a fellow who donated his estate. Okay, Rabbi Yisrael B'da Eimer, he says oilas ish is coming to exclude something else. Prat oilas gerim, as opposed to an oila offered by a ger. What do you mean? A ger is not a person. Atu ger lav ishu. Why is he excluded? Amalei? No, that's not what it means. It means an ownerless oila, an oila which no longer has an owner. Prat leger, as opposed to an oila which was owned by a ger, who now passed away without heirs, without any relatives. Shemesh ve'en lo yoshim. Nobody owns it. So in this case, it all goes to the Beis Hamikdash and not to the Kohanim. Tana Rabbanan. Once again, oilas ish tells you, eini oilas ish, perhaps only one offered by a man. And Rashi takes out the next 2 words, oilas gerim. What about oilas noshim? He takes out the word gerim. Oilas noshim, what about an oila offered by a woman, a ger, an even, menayin? What about those cases, Talmud Leimar? We learned that their skin as well, the skin of their oila as well, goes to the Kohanim. Oir ha-oila riba, the extra lashon, oir ha-oila covers all these cases. Im kain, if that's the case, that you're including everything. Why specify ish? Which seems to be a limiting term. The answer is, provided that it's a successful carbon, as we learned back in the Mishnah, ish, as opposed to a failed carbon. Prat, for instance, he made it pigul, he made it puzzle. And those, the Kohanim not entitled to the skin because it's an unsuccessful carbon. Okay, what about Shlei Lishma, which is sort of semi-successful? The carbon is kosher, but the owner has to redo it. What about covering that case and excluding him as well? Some actually switch the word marba to memayit. Perhaps we should leave out the Shalei Lishma as well. Look, if since the owner doesn't really get credit for it, perhaps it's considered a failed enterprise. So there as well, don't give the skin to the counter. Oira covers this as well. Now, oira sounds like it only applies to an oila. What about oiros of kachik kachim? How do we know that there too? It goes to the counter. Hikriv is an extra expression to cover the kachik kachim as well. Yochel, perhaps shani marba, I cover even af kachim kalim. Skin of a shlamim. We'll go to the kayin. No. We'll go back to the word oila. Ma'ila kachik kachim, af kol kachik kachim. Just like an oila is a kachik kachim. You want to give the skin to the kayin, only kachik kachim, not kachim kal. Okay, so according to Tanakama, how do we know to extend the halacha to other kachik kachim? From the pasuk asher hikriv. Rabbi Shmuel Leiber, no, we don't need a pasuk. We have a kal v'chaymer. Oira would sound like only the oila, right? Any oila, oila. What about oiros, the skins of kachik kachim? How do we know they too go to the kayanim? But they know it's based on a kal v'chaymer. Uma oila shlei zachu v'psara. Even by the oila with the kayanim, they're not entitled to the basar. Still, they get the skins. Zachu b'oira, certainly kachik kachim by kachatos. Shezachu b'psara, they're entitled to the flesh itself, of course, the skin which comes along. Ein adin, wouldn't you agree? She is kabayra. Well, not so simple. You're saying skin always comes along with flesh? Look at the mizbeach. He always gets flesh, but not skin. Mizbeach yichich. The mizbeach will undo your argument. Shezachu b'psara, v'leizachu b'oira. It gets the basar of the oila, not the skin. Well, that's not really gonna say anything much, because Malam Mizbeach Sheken Lezacha b'miktzas. Mizbeach is not a player in this equation, because he never gets, even part of the time, even in some case, he never gets skin, period. As opposed to Kohanim. Tomer b'Kohanim shezacha b'miktzas, that we know at least sometimes they get skin by the oila. And therefore, Hoil v'zacha b'miktzas, zachu b'kulam, yizku b'kulam. If they get skin sometimes, we'll assume it applies to all the kachik kadashim. Okay, so according to Rishmal, it's a kal v'chaymer. Rabbi has a different perspective. He says, look, we don't really need to prove anything regarding the skin of kachik kachim. It's very clear to me. Whoever gets the flesh gets the skin. It's one package. Just the opposite. The reason why the Torah had to mention the oila, because otherwise I wouldn't even know that they get the skin by the oila. Because I would think, look, the skin is sort of inseparable from the flesh. And by the oila, guess who gets the flesh? The mizbeach. And that's why the Torah has to point out, they do get the skin of the oila. Rabbi Eimer Kol Atzmei, the whole entire purpose of this pasuk, Lo yitzrachnu ela lo oila was simply to notify us, to teach us that they get the skin of the oila. Bilvad, only for that purpose. Because typically, standard procedure is ha'oir ma'alach achar basar. Skin follows the basar. For instance, param and esraf, sidram and esraf, those karbanos that are burned outside Yerushalayim. It's one package. Hein, v'yru sein esraf, and the flesh and the skin together get burnt. Imoyin, with them. Likewise, chatas v'asham, v'zivach hasham with tzibur. The chatas, the asham, the shlamims that the tzibur brings, are matana l'koyin, are a gift to the koyin, and there's no reason to disenfranchise them, deprive them of their skin. Ratzu mafshit noisan. They can choose to remove the skin before they eat. Ratzu loy ratzu. They decide not to remove the skin. They can eat the flesh out of the skin. Meaning, there's no requirement to skin those animals. So why would I think that we take the skin away? Likewise, kachim kalam eshlamim. Same story. Labalam goes to the owner. Ratzu mafshit noisan. Ratzu noisan. They can remove the skin. They can eat them as is. So skin goes along with the flesh wherever. The only difference is by the oila. By the oila it says remove the skin, chop up the oila, put it on the mizbeach. Right? It's the only time it says you remove the hide. So perhaps over here the kahanim are not entitled to the skin. Right? It says remove the skin, doesn't say what to do with it. Perhaps it goes on the mizbeach, perhaps, right? Talmud Lemar. Comes the pasuk and says, no, oira oila shehikriv loya. Oira oila shehikriv. It's your oila, you keep the skin. Okay, so bottom line is, we have 3 reasons why the Kohanim get the skin of the kachim kalim. Either it's the extra pasuk ashehikriv, or it's a kal v'chomer, or it's just plain logic. Now the words loya teach us that just as when it comes to laying a claim to a portion of the flesh, you have to be available for work, like we learned yesterday. You have to be there at the akrava. Same with the skin. You can't demand a portion of the skin if you're a latecomer, if you weren't around, if you weren't available during the day. Lo'iyah tells you only to him. Prat, as opposed to a fellow who was tamil, who are not available during the day. Likewise, they don't get the skin at night. Shiach, I would think, perhaps they do. Lo yisku a basar, they can't get the basar. Shula achil is meant for consumption, which they weren't, enabled for during the day. But yisku ba'ar, perhaps they can get the skin. Shein lachil, it's not meant for eating. Talmud Lemar lo'iyah comes to pasuk and says, no. You want a chelik of the air? You have to be a kohen toher during the day, as opposed to prat l'machas kippurim ba'ar tvolim ba'in. Ask the Gemara. Rabbi Shmuel learned that a kohen gets the skin of kachim based on a kal v'chomer. Tanakama needed a pasuk. Why? Why didn't he need a pasuk? Tanakama nami tepikle medina. Why couldn't the Tanakama learn this concept from a kal v'chomer? Just as a Rishma? The answer is you're right. Most of the asav kal v'chomer, sometimes even an item which can be generated through a kal v'chomer, tarach b'kasel l'kod, the pasuk will trouble itself to spell it out in clear fashion. Ask the Gemara in the reverse, Rabbi Shmuel, who had a kal v'chomer, what does he do with the extra pasuk? What does he do with the extra pasuk of Tanakama? No, to exclude these individuals from taking a part of the skin. Well, that's learned from Lo'iyah. The answer is Rishmuel Tamei. Rishmuel already used Lo'iyah for something else. It's unavailable. We learn from there something else. We have the word Lo'iyah by the Oila. By the word Lo'iyah by Asham. And we compare, we connect the Oila to the Asham. Malahan, just like with the Asham, where the Kohanim get the basar, and also the bones. And the bones are mutter. They don't expire. You can take them, turn them into a utensil. There's no noiser, right, if it's inedible, so you can take it and use it for personal use. Likewise, sometimes by an oilaf, let's say the bone got separated and it's totally on its own, you can just take it and use it. Mufni, but this connection, this gzeira shava, must be based on words that are fully available for this purpose of connecting, because otherwise we know that the rule is when it's just a regular gzeira shava, you can refute the gzeira shava if you find distinctions and factors which oppose the connection. Otherwise you can refute and challenge by saying, look, you're comparing the oila to the asham. Mala asham shkem sari muta, of course. The bones of the asham are available because even the flesh is available for the kohen, as opposed to the flesh of the oila, which is for the mizbech. Who says the kohen can take the bones? Lo'iyah, kro yiseru. Exactly, the words lo'iyah are extra and meant for this connection. Okay, perhaps the next Mishnah begins a brand new discussion, which sort of spills over into tomorrow. We'll leave the Mishnah for tomorrow's daf B'ez Hashem. Let's just do a quick recap. So in general, skin of an oila or any other kachim kadashim go to a kohen. The pasuk speaks about an oila, but we extend it to other karbanos as well, based on the psukim, based on the kal v'chomer, right, or based on plain logic. It applies to oilas ish or oilas isha. It does not apply to oilas hegdish, for which we have 3 pshatim. According to one shita, it does not apply to an ownerless carbon. And this is all provided that the carbon is a carbon kosher, a successful carbon. Even if it's like the shma, but if it's kosher, the halacha still applies. And who's entitled to a chelik of the skin? Only a kohen who is available b'shas the yaktorah, in similar fashion to yesterday's halacha regarding his claim on the basar. All the best to you and hatzlacha.